As anyone who watches this show, I think, would concede, I am not particularly given to anti-intellectualism or disparagement of expertise in general. That said, a recurring feature of the world we live in is to find oneself as just a kind of amateur citizen, looking at the smart people and the people in power and expert pronouncements about what seems like obvious questions, and thinking that the people in charge have lost their minds. That was my and many people's feeling in the run-up to the Iraq War, for example, and that instinct turned out to be the right impulse. And it was mine and many people's feelings at the tail end of the housing boom. Like, does it make sense that people with limited income are getting multiple loans to flip multiple houses? Can this end well? The answer was no, even though lots of wealthy and smart people said they had it all figured out and it was fine. And honestly, the one obvious question that stalks anyone who has paid any attention whatsoever to the reporting and the dispatches from service members from the nation's longest war in history in Afghanistan is, what is our mission? What are we doing there? No one can ever seem to answer it, and yet the war continues. Well, now, thanks to documents pried from inside the federal government by the Washington Post, we know this very same central question has haunted policymakers at the highest levels. People have actually been running the war for years, almost 2 decades. In echoes of the famous Pentagon Papers about the Vietnam War, the so-called Afghanistan Papers show that the war was a mess from the very start, something that countless reporters and veterans of the conflict have been saying for years. But the papers also show that the U.S. government, across multiple administrations, officials deliberately misled the public about what exactly was going on. The papers include thousands of pages of documents created by the Special Inspector General for Afghanistan Reconstruction. That agency was investigating fraud and waste in Afghanistan, and then they launched a side venture to look exactly what went wrong in Afghanistan as a whole. Here's how one 3-star Army general who served in both the Bush and Obama administrations described the mission, quote, "We were devoid of a fundamental understanding of Afghanistan. We did not know what we were doing. What are we trying to do here? We did not have the foggiest notion of what we were undertaking." And as for the $1 trillion cost, one former Bush and Obama White House staffer said, quote, "After the killing of Osama bin Laden, I said that Osama was probably laughing in his watery grave, considering how much we have spent on Afghanistan." There are 2 lessons here, to my mind. One, sometimes, and unnervingly frequently, frankly, on the biggest, most consequential questions we face, the most powerful people get it horribly wrong. And 2, and this is simple, end the war now. Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.